Should we give black belts to little kids? Hey, why not? Let's do it. What? Didn't expect me to say that, did you? Well, I did. Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China, and welcome to the Ramsey Dewey Show, I guess, because I'm Ramsey Dewey, and this is a show that I'm doing. So back up. Little kids with black belts. Isn't that a sign of a McDojo? I certainly did say that 15 years ago here on YouTube. But why am I saying, why not? Let's give the kids the black belts. Well, isn't that a very easy way to sort out the garbage from the good stuff? Well, it certainly could be. Recently, Drew Phoenix put out a funny video on his Instagram account. Drew Phoenix, if you don't know, is a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu black belt. He and a fellow Jiu-jitsu practitioner, also a black belt, put out a video where they're joking. Drew holds up his belt and says, "Hey, imagine if we got these when we were 12 years old." His friend holds up her belt and says, "Yeah, but we got them in our 40s. Because it takes a while to earn a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. They say it takes an average of 10 years, a decade or so to earn one of those. My personal experience, it's taken me a decade between each rank in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, so at this rate, I will probably earn a black belt somewhere between retirement and death if I live to old age, if I'm that fortunate. But we'll see." So, belt ranks, do they matter? Are they important? They used to be very important to me. Man, I spent a very long time as a young man chasing after belts, and I got a few of them, man. I ended up earning several black belts in several different martial arts. And my friend Nils, you've probably seen him on this channel before if you are a longtime subscriber. He's appeared in a number of my self-defense videos and bears an uncanny resemblance to Captain Krav Maga. Don't tell him I said so, though. We had a conversation, and he said to me, after earning a black belt in his particular martial art, I don't remember the exact name, it's a variation of a German jiu-jitsu style. He's from Germany. And he had spent many years working on this accomplishment. He finally was awarded his black belt by his organization in Germany and came back to Shanghai, showed me his belt, his certificate, and he said, I had an epiphany. After receiving this belt and putting it on, I realized wearing the black belt did not make me stronger. Just like when I graduated from university, getting that diploma did not make me smarter. Just like when I got married and I got that marriage certificate, that did not make me more in love than I already was. I thought, man, that is deep, that is profound, that is beautiful. And how? I always say on this channel that martial arts is about a pursuit of the truth. As a young man, it was largely about chasing ranks. And as soon as I got into a professional fight for the first time, that fast, I realized none of those ranks and none of those belts meant a damned thing. There's a saying, the black belt covers 2 inches of your butt, it's up to you to cover the rest. Nah, it doesn't cover you at all. Not even a little bit. In fact, in many ways, it's a liability and a target. So, should little kids have black belts? How about this? Maybe we're asking the wrong question. Should anyone have a black belt? What does that do? It creates a hierarchy, creates a bit of a pecking order, and that was the original intention that Jigoro Kano had when he instituted the belt system in judo. To make a visible distinction between the teachers and the students. The teachers would wear the black belt, the students would wear the white belt. And there were no colored ranks and no stripes back then. Just a black belt for the teacher and a white belt for the students. And he got this idea from Japanese swimming schools, where the teachers would wear a black sash around their swimming trunks and the students would wear a white one. And he thought this is a pretty good way to delineate this person is the teacher, he's the leader of the hierarchy, he's the alpha, he's the one we look to for guidance, and everybody else, you're the student. So Judo became an Olympic sport. They added extra belt ranks, the colored belts, and Brazilian Jiu-jitsu broke away from Judo, and for a while they decided, you know what, we're not going to do the same ranks as Judo. We're not going to copy their belt colors. We won't even have black belts. We'll have white belts for students, and then we will have dark blue belts for the master and a regular blue belt for the regular teachers. And that was the original belt system for BJJ. A lot of people don't know that. If you look at pictures of Helio Gracie, I mean, sometimes you'll see him wearing his Grandmaster red belt, but a lot of times you'll see Helio wearing a blue belt. And this is confusing to a lot of younger people. They'll be like, did the Grandmaster forget his belt and have to just steal a blue belt off of some random guy? No, that was his original Grandmaster belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In fact, after his father died, Royce Gracie, you know, the guy who competed in the first few UFC events, he started wearing that blue belt himself. I'm not sure if he still does, but you can find pictures of Royce wearing a blue belt on the internet, giving seminars, and some people scratching their heads like, why isn't Royce like a 5th, 6th degree black belt in BJJ? Why is he wearing a blue belt? This doesn't make any sense. That's why. There was an article a while back. It caused a bunch of stir in the BJJ community. I don't remember the dude's name, but he was a really high level jiu-jitsu practitioner, and he received an honorary rank, like the highest rank you can get if you're not the founder of the art. And so they decided to give him a special belt. And what color was that belt? It was white. And I'm serious. They gave him, you know, the highest level guy who didn't found the art himself, a white belt. Now, it's a little bit different looking white belt, but still, it's a white belt. I think it had a red stripe on it somewhere, but if you weren't looking carefully, you'd think, this is just some old dude who's trying out BJJ for the first time. Good for him, old man. And he gave a little speech, and I read it, and I don't remember the exact text, so I'll paraphrase a little bit. He said something along the lines of, the color of the belt doesn't matter so much as what you get out of the experience. Now that's something worth applauding. Yeah. Hierarchies have their place. I mean, we need social hierarchies in society to ensure that societies exist, and it doesn't just break out into chaos and complete disorder. There are important reasons to have hierarchies. And then there are also abuses of hierarchies. And there are a lot of people out there, when they believe that they have a little bit of power, just a little bit of power, and a little bit of authority, they run with it and they go to some very dark places. In all of the decades I've spent practicing martial arts and dealing with belt hierarchies and all these different systems, including but not limited to BJJ, man, I have seen it ruin people. Otherwise, decent people. It's like the One Ring from Lord of the Rings, man, how it has this draw and this power over people. Like, it changes you, man. It changes you, my precious. If you're not familiar with Lord of the Rings, man, at least go watch the movie. It's not a perfect adaptation from the book, because otherwise it would be a very long musical, but it's pretty good. Peter Jackson did a pretty decent job, I thought. So, what do I mean by that? Man, I'll tell you a story. There was a guy I knew. I won't mention his name, of course, because he was a training partner of mine and decent guy, but I noticed he would treat people very differently based on what their rank was. If they had a white belt, he would treat them poorly. if they had a rank that was the same as his, he would be like, yeah, we're the same. We're even. Fist bump, bro. And if they were a higher rank than him, I'm not worthy. Oh, mighty, wonderful person. The dude definitely put himself in this pecking order and abused the perceived authority and power that his rank seemed to give him. I hated that, man. I hated that. There are a ton of jiu-jitsu coaches out there, martial arts coaches in general, who will say things like, at this gym, we're like a family. We're all the same. My friend Saulo, he runs a gym here in Shanghai. He's a good dude. He's a good coach. Go check out Bushido for jiu-jitsu here in Shanghai if you're ever in town. Once this town finally reopens, if we ever do. We're in lockdown right now here in Shanghai. But Saulo's a good dude, and he used to coach over at the EFL gym where I'm coaching now, and he gave a couple of lectures. When he showed up, he said, all right, everybody is going to wear a white gi to the jiu-jitsu class. I know there are a lot of other colors of gis out there. Maybe you'll want to like a black one or a blue one or a pink one or whatever. But everyone's going to wear a white one in my class. And you might think that sounds silly and unnecessary. But I'll tell you why. Because I want everybody to realize we're all the same. Yeah, I have a black belt and he's got a blue belt and he's got a purple belt and he's got a white belt. But that doesn't mean I'm better than you and he's better than him. We're all the same, so I want us to wear the same color of uniform to remind us of that. And even though I'm not a big fan of, everybody must wear the same color uniform always, I really appreciated the sentiment behind that speech that he gave. I like that sentiment where you do away with these false hierarchies, with the abuses of hierarchies, and instead create a student, teacher, coach, athlete dynamic. If you can foster that in a gym, that's the kind of dynamic you need. And really, I think that's the true spirit of the belt system that Jigoro Kano tried to instigate in the first place in judo. This is the teacher, this is the student, this is the relationship. Now let's learn, let's get out there and train and do some judo, right? Kids in black belts. Something that's confused me a lot about Taekwondo. Let's talk about Taekwondo for a bit. Taekwondo was my first martial art. It's the first martial art that I formally trained in. It's the first martial art that I ranked up in. And I started training in Taekwondo at age 17. And I got my black belt in my 20s. And when I got that black belt, I was pretty proud about receiving that rank. Like, oh, good job for me. That's a significant accomplishment. And then this happened. Every other person I talked to, oh, my 6-year-old Jimmy, he's got a black belt too. Yeah, my 3-year-old has a black belt. Everybody and their dog has a black belt. It doesn't mean anything. It's not special. You're not special. And, hurt my fifis right here. Oh, boo, boo. Because we all want that belt to make us special. We all want some special experience to make us stand out, right? Like when it's your birthday, man. My 6-year-old, her birthday's coming up pretty soon. She's going to be 7 in a couple days. And she was just having a discussion with her mother about how she wants this day to be special. Bless her heart. And what child doesn't share that sentiment? I want to have that one special day where I'm not just any other kid, where it's my birthday, where I celebrate, me, that there's something significant and special within this human soul right here. And I get to celebrate that, if for at the very least one day out of the year. So many of us feel deprived of this experience. And we try to seek it again and again. When people stop caring so much about our birthdays when we get a little older, or we don't get a call from our family, or we don't get a present. Nobody sings to us. We don't blow out any more candles. What do? Go take a jiu-jitsu class and hope against hope that your coach puts a little strip of athletic tape on the black bar on your white belt? Sometimes. Yeah. So you can experience a little bit of euphoria, so some chemicals can go off in your brain. There was a video that was very controversial, went viral for a bit a few years ago. There was a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He was a legitimate purple belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he decided he was done with the hierarchies. He called it the Brazilian priesthood, and he was sick of it. And he said, yeah, screw this. Nah, I'm done with this. I'm going to do it my way. And so he posted this live video on the internet where he got some of his students together. He trained some guys. Nothing wrong with a purple belt training some guys. And he took out a brown belt and he said, I am promoting myself to the rank of brown belt. And he put that brown belt on, and he was very honest and upfront about what he was doing. He wasn't like one of those fake black belts where they behind the shadows where no one can see, order a black belt from Amazon or wherever you get black belts from, and they put it on and they tell everybody, I'm a black belt, I earned it from this Brazilian dude you've never heard of, and yeah, come learn from me because I'm awesome. And then they don't know anything, and they teach their students a bunch of hot garbage, and yeah, that's happened. But this wasn't that. This was different. It was curious. It had me scratching my beard. Not my head, because I don't have hair on my head, but the beard, because the beard itches. Oh, it feels good. Yeah. Where were we? I got a little distracted with the beard scratching. So this dude gives himself a black belt. He films it. He puts it up on the internet for the world to see. He wants everybody to see. He wants his former coaches to see, I don't need you. I don't respect your hierarchy. So he puts on this belt and essentially says, if you have a problem with it, come take it from me. And a lot of people start complaining, how dare he, all these jiu-jitsu folks in the BJJ community, this is the worst thing ever, oh, this guy's such a fraud. And I'm thinking, is he though? I mean, he didn't earn the black belt, or the brown belt, I should say, but he didn't lie. And he made it public, and he didn't hide that. And I tried to find out what this dude is doing now. I haven't been able to find any information about him on the internet, but it was a really weird and strange scenario, and it made me start thinking about belt ranks and what belt ranks really mean. And I thought that's very interesting, that in spite of the fact that he didn't respect the hierarchies in the gyms he was training at, he still respected the symbol of the belt. Now, it's taken me almost 20 minutes to get to this point, but I've honestly lost all respect for belts over the years. They don't mean anything to me. If it means something to you, great. But to me, I don't care. As I said before, belts don't fight your battles for you. You literally can't even take one of those things into a cage with you. You can't. It's a physical representation of your relationship with your jiu-jitsu coach or whatever martial arts coach you had. And it's confusing. It's confusing and it's arbitrary. I've been asked a lot of times, so what do you actually have to do to rank up in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu? Well, there's no clear answer for that. The simplest answer is just keep showing up, and eventually they'll have to give you a belt promotion eventually. But it's arbitrary. It's up to the instructor. A lot of martial arts are different because they'll lay out a very specific syllabus. You have to do this, this, and this. You have to spend exactly this much time. You've got to do these things and jump through these hoops, and then we'll give you a belt. But jiu-jitsu varies from coach to coach. With some coaches, maybe they will give you a specific syllabus and spell it out for you. With other coaches, it's when they feel like it. When they feel like you've earned it. When you grab their attention in some way. If you rub elbows with them the right way. If you have the right type of relationship with your coach. If they like you. If they don't hate you. It's very variable. Is that good? It is what it is. And a lot of people say, well, belts are important so that you can make these distinguishments in jiu-jitsu tournaments, so the white belts can grapple with the white belts and the blue belts can grapple with the blue belts and so on and so forth. Well, why do we need that? If you go to a no-gi tournament or a non-jiu-jitsu grappling tournament, they'll generally have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced category that you can sign up for. And you don't have to offer proof, hey, I'm an advanced practitioner. Or, oh, I'm a noob. You just sign up for what you feel you're ready for, and then you go and do it. And if you're good enough, you win, and if you're not, you lose. And it's grappling, so at the end of the day, it's pretty much just a simulated battle where nobody gets seriously hurt, so what's the big deal, right? But Ramsey, if we didn't have all the belts and the IBJJF breathing down our necks, demanding all the certification in the universe, then chaos would ensue, and then white belts would sign up in the black belt tournaments, and then they would get squashed, and then people who sucked wouldn't win, and people who were good would win. Oh, what's different about that? Help me out here, guys. Help me out here. What are the belts really for other than tradition? Speaking of traditions in BJJ, you familiar with the tradition of the gauntlet? A lot of jiu-jitsu schools do this, where when somebody gets promoted, everybody in the class lines up on two sides. They take out their belts. The person who got promoted takes off their gi top and then gets whipped with the belts as they walk through the corridor. It's a little hazing ritual. I don't remember the dude's name, but I read an article that he wrote, the guy who actually started this tradition. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt from Brazil, and he started it kind of as a joke in his school, and then some of his students did it to their students, and it kind of spread like wildfire throughout the jiu-jitsu community. And in this interview, he said, I regret it. I don't do that anymore. I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a terrible tradition. I was a stupid young guy when I started it. I'm older and wiser now. So, yeah, please stop doing the gauntlet, said the guy who started that very tradition. And yet, most people are not willing to drop that tradition. Because tradition, we've done it for so long. I did it, and my coach did it, and his coach did it, and my father before me, and therefore we shall never, ever, ever break the chain. It's a problem with traditions, man, is they're not always good. Imagine for a minute if there was a martial art out there, a traditional martial art, and they teach a form where they do some movement based on what the Grandmaster 15 generations taught, and it's been preserved accurately up until the present day, except that Grandmaster kind of sucked at his job and made up a bunch of nonsense that he's passed down to the current generation. Maybe he got some stuff wrong, and everybody was just like, well, we have to keep practicing this forever and ever, amen, because tradition. What if? What if they didn't get it all right back then? What if that dude who started the style back then was still alive today and could have learned from several generations of time, hey, maybe instead of doing it this way, I should have done it that way instead, and yeah, that would have fixed everything. And now I've taught everybody wrong. Oh. So that's where I'm at right now, that belts are arbitrary and belts don't matter. Now, I had a discussion about this on the internet with a jiu-jitsu black belt from another country, and he accused me of being bitter and jaded. Oh, you're just saying that because you don't have a black belt yet in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You're just saying that because you're bitter. No. I'm saying that not because I don't have a black belt, because I do have black belts, plural. And I know exactly what road that leads down, because I've been down that road before. And it leads nowhere good, nowhere I want to return to. A couple of years ago, I received a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from my friend Saulo and from my current Jiu-Jitsu coach, Guilherme. And they presented me with this purple belt. They were like, dude, you've had that old blue belt for like a decade. It's about time you got promoted, man. And they were relatively new Jiu-Jitsu coaches to me at that time, but essentially what they were saying was, yeah, we've spent a little bit of time rolling with you. We know where your skill level is. We think you deserve this. And they asked me to give a short speech, and I basically said, thank you. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, it is an honor for a coach and a friend to say, hey, I believe in you this much. I appreciate the work you put in this much. Good job. And that is what a belt rank really means to me and nothing else. So if you try to hold that rank up as hierarchical power over somebody else, if you try to hold it up as a priesthood, as that one dude who promoted himself to brown belt said about the BJJ community in general, that's not good. That's a dark path, man. If you try to put words in other people's mouths because you don't know the full story, you don't know where they've been, you don't know how they've trained, you don't know what they've been through, and you just see the belt, the color around their waist when they're in a jiu-jitsu class and assume, oh yeah, that tells me everything I need to know about this guy. Literally judging people by a color on the outside rather than the content of their character. What a load of crap that is. So if there's a school out there where a coach decides to give a little kid a black belt and say, good job, Timmy. You jumped through all the right hoops, you did all the right things. Here's a reward. And little Timmy feels good about himself. Is that so wrong? Is that so bad? Should I work myself up into a tizzy over that? Nah, I don't care, little Timmy. Go put on that belt and feel like a Power Ranger or whatever martial arts TV show kids are watching these days, if any. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.